Hi there, Alan here, and this is being recorded shortly after the deal was cut in Congress, and I ran across this article and I wanted to share with you some of the things that are in this article and give you some food for thought and maybe even break a little news here. I've seen a little bit of this, but I haven't seen it really hammered even in the conservative media. First of all, I'm looking at a website called mybudget360.com, and I'm seeing an article that says blue pill of debt exchanges temporary increase in debt for inflation, taking the blue pill of a fabricated world addicted on debt as U.S. standard of living hits 10-month low. I want to show you a few graphs here. As I scroll down the article, you can see this is a graph of the value of the dollar, and this graph starts in 1983, shows an increasing dollar and then decreasing since about 1985, reaching a maximum of near 150. That's the indexed value, and now it's down under 80. I want to show you something which is even more powerful. This graph that you're looking at goes back 30 years. This one goes back about 100 years, just over 100 years. It shows the US dollar being stable versus gold until 1933, and of course that's when FDR devalued the dollar by some 60% as gold jumped from 20 to 35. It then shows the US dollar was again stable until right around 1971. There was instability there because of Vietnam. We were going into debt because of Vietnam, and Nixon in 1971 completely took us off the gold standard, and you can see what has happened to the value of the US dollar since then. It's been expressed to me that the US dollar is worth maybe about 15 cents what it was in the 70s, and it's worth maybe a couple of cents what it was back in the 30s when this entire process began. This is showing its value relative to gold. It is not that gold has really gone up in value, it is that the dollar has gone down in value, which leads me in my mind to wonder, how is it possible that gold is not going up in cost right now? For the last couple of years, gold has been doing this, and a lot of the reading I'm doing, and I do a lot of reading, suggests that manipulation is in the picture. Well, I'm imagining in my mind pulling on a rubber band. You can only pull on that rubber band so long before it either breaks or it snaps back. Either way, the energy gets released. When the energy gets released in gold, because the dollar continues to devalue, gold is going to have to do what it did in these periods. When Nixon took us off the gold standard, gold was $35 an ounce. Hear it again, $35. Gold closed yesterday over $1,300 an ounce. The all-time high was about $1,900. So, what we're looking at, as the dollar continues to devaluate, there is absolutely no reason to not expect gold to continue to go up. I've said it on other videos. I've put it into my blog posts. If you are interested in buying gold, feel free to reach out to me. I'll refer you to somebody who's a licensed, legitimate gold dealer, and he will sell you something at the right price that is not counterfeit or illegitimate in any way, and you won't get yourself in trouble tax-wise. So you can speak with him about that. You can reach out to me, and there are various ways you can reach out to me. I'll even give you my phone number right now, 561-676-1205. Give me a call. And that's a 1 in front of it. I'm in the United States, and I'm in Mountain Time, so that's GMT -7. All right, let me go back to the article. And a point made just under this graph, and this is an important point, what people are now starting to realize is the next generation may not be so financially lucky. Half of all recent college graduates are unemployed or working in jobs that don't require a college degree. The cost to attend college has far outpaced any economic gains in wages. So we're left with another bubble that is precariously close to bursting. Yet this is a system where we chase quick gains and avoid confronting real issues. Doesn't that sound like what went on in Washington in the past few days? Okay. Here we're looking at federal debt. This shows our debt is up around $17 trillion. This shows million, and then the Parentheses here is millions of dollars, so it's millions of millions. So we're up around $17 trillion. You see how the trajectory has changed. The 1980s were not good. The 1990s were a little flatter. But since the period of G.W. Bush and Obama, look at what's going on. Now again, I want to bring you to an historical picture so you see where we are. This is the national debt since 1790. You'll notice that there effectively was no debt until World War II. Now this graph, because it has to accommodate, now this is only up to 2008, so it's only up to $11 trillion. The 17 trillion would be somewhere off of this video's graph. It would be somewhere up here, if not higher. So in order to accommodate this ridiculous exponential rise, literally since World War II, and particularly since the time of Nixon and Carter, you can't see the perturbations that existed in the 1800s and early 1900s. We did incur debt during the Civil War. We did incur debt during World War I. However, those generations did something that this generation just isn't going to be able to do, and shows absolutely no inclination to even try to do, and that is they paid off their debt. They left the United States, they left America, they left the nation in better financial condition for the next generation. They cleaned up their mess. They built up debt during the Civil War, they paid off the debt. They built up debt during World War I, they paid off the debt. They built up debt during World War II, some of it was paid off. But then you see this ridiculous rise that brings us to a level that is truly unsustainable. So how does it really show itself in the real lives of real Americans? Well, let's go down a little further. Oh, before I go further, excuse me, the latest deal that was cut in Washington, do you realize that there is no debt ceiling right now? They did not put a figure into the 35-page bill, which I read. I did read that bill. They did not put a figure into that bill that limits how ridiculous things can get between now and February 7th when the next debt ceiling debate takes place. So if the executive branch wants to rack up as much as they want to rack up, it looks to me, and I'm not an economist and I'm not an attorney, that they've got an open checkbook to do what they want. Further, there is some verbiage in that 35-page document, and if you search Drudge Report, you'll find the document. I believe around page 26, it suggests that the process now may have been switched around, which really basically hands the purse strings over to the executive branch, which should be held by the House of Representatives. That is, the House controls the budget. I'm not going to go further into that right now, but I want you to be on the alert for that, and I want you to look for that. Breitbart broke a report on it, and actually they broke it from Politico. So we'll see exactly what the Congress did this past week, and exactly how badly they've sold us out. Well, let's look further and see how this affects your average American. This graph here shows the United States standard of living. Now, this is a Gallup Standard of Living Index just since May of this year. I've tried looking for a longer term chart, but I couldn't find one. But I'm going to share something with you that's interesting. This shows that just during this year, the standard of living has dropped significantly. And of course, if you need any kind of confirmation of that, just look at the number of people applying for food stamps. Look at the number of people that reacted so violently when they found out that their EBT card, their food stamp card, was not functioning for a day or so. The other thing that I recall reading, and I can't give you a source on it, but you could search for it. Since about 1970, wages have risen on the order of 1,000%, 500%. Wages have risen 500%. Sorry about that. My phone rang. It was an important call. I had to take it. Anyway, since about 1970, wages have risen about 500%. Again, I don't remember the source on this. And that would sound pretty good. You know, if you were making $100 a week, now you're making $500 a week. But then what if I tell you that most of your expenses have risen more than 500%? So that if you were paying $100 a month for expenses, now you're paying a better part of $700 to $1,000 a month for expenses. So if your expenses rise faster than your wages, what's the end result? Obviously, you're slipping backward. You're falling back. You're reducing your standard of living. So here's the bottom line. I can't count on what's going on in Washington. Certainly, there are power brokers there that are making deals for themselves. There are two things that come to mind. First of all, I'm a big fan of Mark Levin. He wrote a book called The Liberty Amendments. I'm sure I've got a link to it somewhere under this. Take a look at that book. Liberty Amendments, I think, is a very important book, and I think it's a book that if people act on it, we can change things in our country. The second thing is, what are you doing? What are you doing in your own personal realm to not have your standard of living continue to do this? In my case, I'm building business online. I've affiliated with a couple of different companies that I believe are providing, are currently and will in the future provide residual and passive income. If you think that's something you'd like to explore further, and you think that I might be the kind of person that you could speak with without the hype, with a straight answer on various things that are out there, various opportunities, various strategies, give me a call or reach out to me on Skype. My Skype is alan.sills, and that's spelled ALAN.SILLS. There's no O's in my last name. I don't know why people sometimes think that. And there's only one L in my first name. So it's alan.sills. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you real quick. Alan Sills at alansills.com. Take a look at it. I'll be highlighting a few other things that I'm working on down below, so feel free to peruse the rest of this post. And if you found this on YouTube, then by all means, I'm sure there is some kind of notice above me that will, if clicked on, bring you directly to the post so that you can see all the supplemental information. And I got a few stories for you under this video that you're not going to want to miss. Okay, Alan Sills, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, morning, evening, whenever it is you're seeing this.